Hello, how are you today? My name is Byron Williams. I also serve in the capacity of Chief of Police up in Fayette County. I had to write an essay that was very dear to me, and the essay is titled "The Year Was 2024 and the Place was Springfield, Ohio. To win American votes, pet-consuming conspiracies were generated." This was a deep topic. I was able to get with Professor Killian, and we were able to discuss different types of topics that would interest not only fellow students, but also be of interest to people. So I'm going to read the essay and hope that you all can bring out biblical points of importance. The year was 2024 and the place was Springfield, Ohio. To win American votes, the pet-consuming conspiracies were generated. Abstract. The contract of Metropolis of Springfield, Ohio turned out to be the hub of one of the most political conspiracies against humans of non-American race echoed during an election period. For example, in 2024, public ethical tribunations manufactured false and straight-out lies and asserted Haitian migrants were preferring and ingesting local inhabitants, cats, dogs, and domestic birds. The social media, political candidates, and propagandists collectively intensified and falsely endorsed the unsustained portraits of Black immigrants consuming domestic animals. These conspiracy theories rocked into palpable, menacing, and moral panic. These false conspiracy theories succeeded acute persecution, medical centers expulsions, and educational institutions isolation from Haitian occupants. The student's essay scrutinizes the progression of all conspiracies and conspiracy theories affixed to these consuming gossip. These identical progressions were used as a conventional diplomatic voice to influence lies. This essay decomposes the capacity of media outlets in the momentum of deception. The chronicle conditions of intolerant, sustained gossip, starting at Springfield, Ohio, and traveling the world. This this is supposed by the conceptual and cultural controversies authorize these conspiracy theories to proceed with adhesion. Eventually, this essay becomes the dissertation of actual upshots of the phrase conspiracy fabrication of 2024 presidential election. From my introduction, the Chronicle encircles immigrants in our country began in the summer of 2024. For example, the United States specifically transferred the federal proposed actions dialogue to an uncanny, circumscribed, and completely falsified account emerging from Springfield, Ohio. This conspiracy language professed Haitian immigrants were kidnapping and engrossing domestic pets. For example, this fabrication was a circulated gossip and was an escalated conspiracy conjectured, indicating the contemporary rate of deception. Communities of municipal leaders, law enforcement agencies, and local Republican and Democrats promptly and frequently deflated the false conspiracy, but the erroneous descriptions were interminable. These conspiracy theories were the ammunition by multilistic associations aligned with sophisticated legislators and fascist automated propagandists. The student's essay insists that the Springfield pet consuming jest is a sister chronicle case study in the manufacturing of prejudice trepidation. This conspiracy theory personifies fusion of accepted chauvinism victims, the allied advocacy of contemporary deception and calculated distribution of posterior judicials. The current Vice President J.D. Vance advocated fabricating conspiracy theories give give reason for illuminating of suffering in this country. This conspiracy theory essay decomposes this episode through a stratified outlook. First, this essay will detect and unearth the originations of the gossip, broadcasting the way a entertainment of telephone gossip in a neighborhood Facebook assembly was converted by web-based podiums into fortified portraits. Second, this essay installs the falsification within the extant chronicles of the United States bigotry. The same American bigotry principally established assertions and claims on squattiness, primitive, and ferocious, ingesting traditions adverse to minority citizens to give ground for debarment. Third, the conspiracy theory is dissected in a calculated financial and ministerial inducement of players escalating the gossip or lie. For example, the lie is amplified to a vowing that the conspiracy exists as a suited, although treacherous, apparatus for mustering diplomatic opinion about immigration. Finally, the conspiracy theory essay debates acute communal and protection reverberation for the Haitian people existing in Springfield, Ohio, and guinea pigs to brandish of despise, intimidation remarks, and persecution. Amid neighborhood rumors to executive discussion, the freedom of deception. The town of Springfield description furnished an intelligible conspiracy theory dozered in contemporary propaganda. For example, a native from the community Springfield Facebook congregation asserted nearby residents' little girl's domestic cat disappeared. The people from the Facebook team surmised Haitian migrants neighboring close terminated the cat and diced the cat to pieces. The originators of the fabricated gossip recanted the correspondent and acknowledged this individual had no support awareness of Haitians eating cats. This was too late, and the narrative was classified as an entertainment over the phone. Nevertheless, the renunciation was abortive. The conspiracy, falsification, and gossip was acquired by neo-Nazi affiliates and far-right categories, frequently questioning elevating the fabricated statements into reality or truth. For example, a likeness of a man transporting an expired Canadian goose was swiftly affiliated to the pet-consuming speculations by social networks clientele. Ensuing inquest manifested the image was really captured in Columbus, Ohio. These images were confirmed months in advance. Likewise, a tape recording of a female apprehended for taking of life and ingesting a domestic cat was universally dispensed as evidence of the Springfield salivation. This video was a transmission in Canton, Ohio. Canton, Ohio is 170 miles abroad. This becomes an alarming conspiracy theory because the video contemporary highlighted American citizens with no relationships to Haiti. Undeterred by uncomplicated contradiction of the true diplomatic representative heightened the report. Current Vice President Vance advised on X that details at the moment manifest individuals had their domestic pets seized and ingested by immigrants illegally in this country. When interviewed, Vice President declared he was intensifying voters, recitals, and possibly will generate accounts for the media in the United States to really identify heedfulness. Throughout the presidential debate in 2024, President Donald Trump admitted the false assertion. For example, Trump stated, in the city of Springfield, Ohio, illegal immigrants are ingesting domestic dogs. These illegal immigrants that centered our country are consuming cats. The lineage of defamation of exportation, documented circumstances. Observations of migrants ingesting pets or living unclocked exist throughout history in America. This is a tactic utilized to categorize like Asian immigrants to portray intruders as unsuitable for this society. This conspiracy theory led to the Springfield scandal pivoting on pets. This is a modern day lineage defamation of exploitation maliciously indicting Haitian immigrants of ceremonial marathon. This concurrent description restores individuals with their domestic pets, causing the scapegoats as a carnivorous prospect. The center of the Haitian immigrant, the masses with in turn protected standing, proposes that the intention was an ethnicalized, meaning other, with the description positioning the depersonalized of the immigrants of different races or color. Propaganda utilized in the 2024 election as a calculated conspiracy. By dispersing the fabrication of pet consuming, a political scheme gained momentum. For example, the right wing and policymakers aggrandize the whispers to the culmination of recognized overextension on community advocacy from the incursion of immigrants. Springfield observed an ascending of Haitians occupying employment deficits and community officials described obstacles. For example, the obstacles were ostensibly incited by immigrants. The pet consuming declarations performed as a call to arms with a vowed depiction to influence social media cycles intending to delineate mayhem under the President Biden and Vice President Harris superintendents and aggrandize assembly of extradition, reintegrating discredited assertions, ridiculed psychological impressions over authentic candor, create colonization and the ramifications of invention. The conspiracy theory created in the Springfield, Ohio, affected the indisputable upshot, incorporating droves of bomb probabilities attacking innumerable Springfield locales, guiding to the educational institution shutdown and the rescission of public meetings. Of course, the Haitian population declared persecution, defacing, and trepidation, and with the Haitian immigrants petrified to depart from their residence. Caucasian nationalist gangs made an appearance, parading and issuing pamphlets exciting for extradition. Community leaders recounted the conditions as junk, recording the distress rooted by governmental legislators' cynical fabrication. The ramifications of attended illumination, the term composition of vilification. For example, unorchestrated cardinals are advising to the municipality groups behaving as validation diversion. Social media advertisement connected to far-right inclinations reverting the gossip into portrayal, attacking proof, perceptible, and narratives to build the conspiracy to be persuasive. From the student's perspective, the descriptions are intensified by auditorial diplomatic individuals operating the conspiracy theories from the perimeters to the nucleus of national conference. Political conflict, prejudice, and forged climatic in Springfield, Ohio, the pet-consuming trepidation. While the conspiracy theory created in Springfield was briskly squashed as a joke, the practical joke eventually was titled Untruth of the Year by PolitiFact. For example, psychological interference for the Springfield became heartfelt, keen, and permanent. This conspiracy theory composition investigates the psychological desolation created by the architected deception, decomposing the conspiracy through the optics of mutual anguish, prefabricated trepidation, ethnographed blaming, and the abrasion of public confidence. By inspecting how this fabrication account was armed to manufacture francopolitical conditions, citizens witnessed how the pet consuming machine was used as a disposition of psychological conflict, impacting inhabitants to exist in allegation, dismantling social solidarity, and imposing acute cognition agony on unprotected inhabitants. The structure of an invent ultimatum. The conspiracy explanation concerning Springfield did not appear from faculty. For example, the conspiracy was an amplified account of an undoing with prejudice description drafted to escalate consternation encompassing fresh residents respondents. Springfield had an occurrence of an anticipated inrush of 10,000 to 20,000 Haitian migrants over the last couple of years. This influx overburdened community armature. Nevertheless, the specified indecent assertion of pet consuming derived from a municipal and unclosed Facebook column. The actual posting was mourned by the individual posting of fabrication, but the Facebook posting was magnified by popular representatives. The psychological impression of these actions on the report of development models is optimized when false rumors associated with primordial partisanship is involuntary and provokes assertive institutions. The portrayal of a precious domestic pet being snatched and ingested is keenly instinctive, outlining to detour logical concept and instigate resentment and absorption. When diplomatic representatives reintegrate on these conspiracies and declaration, the politicians were inclined to fabricate narratives and accounts to acquire exposure. The politicians deliberately unbridled a disseminated perpetration. This psychological outcome was prompt accumulation of the communal of the verity, and the reiteration of the fabrication dampened the insensitive consternation and authorized the descriptions to be recognized as a script from a recognized massive successor of community residents. The abrasion of the communal and mutual upheaval. This sincere and instantaneous psychological institution in Springfield was an ruination of communal assurance. A population having wrestled with and struggled with the overburden of prompt argumentation observed the community surviving consternations transmuted into operative trepidation. Springfield was thrust into disarray, with public announcing that activities are disintegrating on every side of us, fashion a widespread detest of vexation, authorizing daily reciprocation. This disordering indicted in assorted courses of action. First, universal consultation and speculation. Occupants began contemplating contents with malevolence. The whispers placed a mark on individuals' back, manufacturing migrant sense, executed and repudiated. Obsessions of consternation. The continual online snapshot and speculation of pet consuming adverse influence people both discreetly and inclusively. This gave rise to arguments, inner answers, and dissolved conviction in accredited statements. For example, impeding on the public's propensity to greet the clamatory. The maintain dominant reverberation. Undeterred by the negative being exposed, the psychological impression preserved, despite ratifications, the inceptive, enormous perspective pursued to dominate individuals' interpretation. For example, a occurrence recognized as a pursued ascendancy upshot. This contemplates that the consternation of foreigners and migrants ingesting domestic pets straggled extensively after the narrative was demonstrated falsely. Psychological conflict, the incendiary ultimate and trepidation. The pet consuming intrigue was not entirely a dormant canard. For example, the intrigue was an appealing conspiracy hypothesis stimulated commotion, incorporating indecently menacing occupations, communal premises, medical institutions, and educational institutions. This manufactured an obedience of consternation in which Haitian migrants and Haitian Americans in Springfield announced articulated pressurization, intimidation, and defacement. The psychological ramifications of these ultimations were disastrous, endangering education institutions to go into isolation, and migrants to abandon public assembly. These terroristic ultimatums demanded public representatives to exit in consternation for people's welfare. For example, safeguarding individuals' children at home. The undeviating ultimation of ferocity is hostile to educations and medical institutions. For example, this is a vintage configuration of psychological conflict or combat aspiring to subvert the public. For example, by singling out locations of protection, the stratagem led to penetrating tension and perturbation between endangering classifications of human beings. Ethnicalized fall guys and disparative procedure. The Springfield stratagem is a principal exemplification of ethicalizing fall guys. This distorted declaration was predominantly related to fascists and marked as endangered inhabitants of black immigrants. By donating a fierce action of ingesting domestic pets to the city of Springfield, a bigoted convention image was produced. This conspiracy theory is a formation of psychological artifacts. For example, the conspiracy theory is sketched to cleave the public by stimulating racism and malevolence. The stratagem was not inspired by indignation over created torture, but conferred to vilify the Haitian population. The psychological impression on the Haitian population was penetrated with delineate of altered intimidation, tyrannization, and demolition. This allegation was obligated by the certitude that the Haitians were in Springfield legitimately. The function of the social communication in augmenting the climacteric. The expeditious propagated of the pet-consuming stratagem was lubricated by the social communication podium. For example, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook led to conspiracy attacks. The executable for the rosterums, which routed uses participants to give presence to what is displayed. The upshot was groupthink where the intervention was magnified by propagate. The dissemination was not expected users only. For example, prominent journalists and legislators permitted the deception to circulate to the public. The virtual habitat constructed a new disposition of cerebral welfare. For example, the disinformation could be diffused with the little omission and elevated momentum. The persistence of introduction to the disposition and recitals had precedent upshot for the conceptual welfare of the public. The durable and psychological upshot. The pet-consuming stratagem was abiding psychological persecution with incorporated despondency, disquiet, and PSTD, post-traumatic stress disorder. The citizens of Springfield will wrestle with these questions for future generations. The intrigue has not solely pretentious the Haitian population, but the local citizens of Springfield. For example, the citizens are disunited and disturbed. The trepidation and the consternation that have been cultivated will not effortlessly vanish. For example, time is needed to renovate the communal certitude that has been disintegrated. The online fall guy, a social dissection of pet-consuming deceptions in Springfield, Ohio. The expeditious unbridled burdening of online deception in 2020 has inherently reorientated the United States sociological perspective. Springfield, Ohio is a product of approximately 60,000 inhabitants undergoing a fleeting occupant recast. September 24th became the month and year, the principal locality of the distinctly Noxox stratagem presumption. This declaration purported Haitians in the general public were preferring dispatching and ingesting domestic pets and wild animals. For example, these allegations circulated from Duboisius restricted social communication clubs to the National Cinema and climaxing into an advertisement by President Donald Trump in the course of the presidential exchange of views on crucial topics. Notwithstanding encyclopedic endeavors by legislators to deflate the assertion that domestic consuming render became chronicle, discharging as a register in the influential of trepidation in the cyber age. The sociological insulation is intent. The report employs bygones, prejudiced concepts about savage remote food cultures to depersonalize a legitimate consciousness and yet endangered subgroup citizen. Moreover, this happening validated the circulated equipment of fake news, where domestic diplomatic performers championed and escalated undetested xenophobic speculations to operate a distinct nationalist, MAGA-affiliated bureaucracy timetable. The idea of evil of social media deception, dawning of lies. The narrative of Springfield fraud embarks on the interchange of unfurnished yet unconsidered sociable consternation and country material. As recorded in the PR Daily Investigator, the city was previously encountering systematic overextended with an inundation of Haitian immigrants elongating city aid and building accessibility. This lie erected a fruitful foundation for calamity. The impetus for the deception was a Facebook correspondent in Neighborhood Club, Springfield, Ohio Delinquency and Statistic, asserting a resident's daughter's domestic pet was located draped from a limb, primed for digesting. This correspondence was, in actuality, predicated on derivative barbarage and was swiftly expunged, but not analytically represented and intensified. Many social ramifications of the Springfield fabrication, the nucleus of the pet consuming scam in a deceptive apparatus for scapegoating. The dog truth about cats and dog contended. The description is a coeval advancement of a intellectual infringement of U.S. nutrient prescription, commonly utilized to illustrate migrants as deleterious and feral. But asserting migrants were ingesting domestic pets, the fabrication endeavored to strain the Haitian population as an undeviated ultimatum to scatters of the Western place of residence. The enduring installation is the regularization of a recent developed gender of social dissension where people are not cleaved but consciously impaired by external players and the internet. Background and chronicle considerations. The recognized betrayal. Haitian migrants, pet ingesting whispers, and well-established United States urban myth that has been classified, prosecuted, and assorted migrant people over centuries. Ethnic misconception and standardizing. Many simulations aimed at the Haitian Historical Convention precisely by labeling divination observance and demeaning Haitian customers. Conclusion. The pet ingesting conspiracy supposition in Ohio was not a fabrication, but a notable and climatical, psychological, and sociological incident. This fabrication validated the influence of media outlets and the social media platform. For example, the platform intensified and stabilized xenophobic and racism allegories. This essay submitted the conscious and fortification of false rumors by diplomatic privileged, emphasizing their agenda over the welfare of public communities. The upshots were appalling. For example, ultimatums of bombings, demolitions of certitude, and imperiling of unprotected occupants. The Springfield, Ohio conspiracy theories educated the nation that in the 21st century, knowledgeable environments and versatility is not a fortress adverse to a compatible or temperamentally assailed fabrication. The protracted psychological and sociological interference is an incapacitated, ruptured community where public solidarity is recurrently besieged by assembled climactic discharging of the amusement of the privileged entreating to segregate the public. This conspiracy theory constructed in Springfield, Ohio is a manifestation of how legislative oratory can convert a parish misconception or canard into a domestic climatic with acute security and communal reverberations. This enormous conspiracy population advanced Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, as they were thieves and ingesting domestic pets derived in September 24th, and some Americans voted for a racist lie. My name is Byron Williams, a student at the University of Memphis in the Doctoral Liberal Studies program, to show you how powerful the internet can be to spread basically a lie and to support the engaged education of a conspiracy theory that we're now witnessing now. in the 21st century. Thank you for your time. You all have a great day.